Welcome to the podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Clem, and this is Turns Out We're Gay. Welcome back. We are so excited to have an incredible guest joining us today, Lexie Dyer. Lexi is known for her amazing online presence across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and OnlyFans. Today we're going to be chatting to Lexi about her coming out story, all things sexuality, dating publicly, online pressures, OnlyFans, and so much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the chaos that is about to unfold. Welcome, Lexi.
Thank you for coming on the potty. We're so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, let's kick it off with who is Lex. So if someone has not heard of you or not seen your content, who are you? What do you do? And tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm just sexy. I'm just me. Unexpected hot mess. I'd consider myself to be.
Yeah. And what do you do?
I do content creation. So I post TikToks, Instagram, YouTube, live out of a suitcase. Just vlog my life, really.
Love it.
Chaos.
I thought you said just flog my life.
No, I just vlog. I just take videos and I just press upload, and it's
There
pretty
you go.
much what I do, yeah.
What a life.
Sounds like our life at the moment.
Well,
but we
it
hate
sounds like what it should be, but we're really lazy with
We're
that
like,
stuff.
Fuck, I want to go home.
Yeah.
So are you based in Melbourne or are you just...
Well, I'm based on the coast, so it's an hour from Melbourne. But I'm always in Melbourne because I'm bored at being at home. There's one pub that stays open till 12, and I'm like, well, it's not enough. Let's keep going. And I just find myself here all the time.
Okay, so you identify as pansexual.
Yes.
Let's go back to the start. When did you sort of realise that you might have been attracted to more than just a heterosexual sort of situation?
Yeah, so I was up until the age of, I'd say, 20, straight.
Yeah.
Straighter than a pole. And then I started playing footy and I started getting nervous around girls, and I was like, sorry, what's going on here? And I was getting a bit flustered, and I was getting red in the face, and I was like, okay, this is not normal. What's going on with me now? And then I just started experimenting with girls, and then I was like, oh, makes sense. And then I was like, you know what? I actually don't give a fuck what's in your pants.
Yep.
I was like, I'm just attracted to the person and connection. So that's when it became very obvious to me. I was like, oh.
Was that a particular person that sort of all opened up with, or was, like you said, it was just you kind of were around girls more?
I was obviously around girls more, but then I met my ex, and then it just made sense. I was like, okay, into girls, and then I didn't want to be girls and guys because I would literally date anyone. I don't I don't mind what you identify as. It's just I can't help connection.
Yeah, if there's a connection, there's a connection. So when you figured that out, was it a big moment for yourself trying to accept that, or did it just, like you say, it just made sense?
I feel fortunate and kind of almost lucky to how quick I understood my sexuality and how non-confusing it was. I don't even know if that's English, but I was not confused. I was confused for probably a couple weeks, and then I was like, no, I'm so comfortable in being open. And I think that, I don't know if that's because I had a very, very supportive family or what it was, but I wasn't confused for very long. And I feel some people, everyone's different. I feel some people are trying to figure it out for months or for years. And I feel I was very fortunate to just understand very quickly.
Yeah. So the family were really supportive, friends as well. So how did you sort of take that conversation of, I'm dating a girl, or I'm going on a date, or I'm like this person or whatever?
Funny story. I feel for me, I'm I'd never wanted to come out. I feel because I never had to sit down with my parents and be like, guys, I'm straight, I'm into guys. So I was I don't want to, it makes me feel it's something that's not normal, but it's so normal. I don't have to explain who I'm into, who I'm sexually attracted to. I was just you know what? I'm into girls, I'm into whoever. I'm just going to go along with it. So me and my family are so close. And I was just I'm going to have this girl over and I'm just going to do my business, act my way, and just let them kind of figure it out. And so I didn't approach it. I was you can come to me and you can ask if you think something's going on here.
Yeah.
And so they did. Dad was like, so what's going on here? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, do you have a girlfriend? I was like, I mean, she's not my girlfriend, but clearly swinging both ways at the moment. And he's just it was so funny. But then Mum Oh my God. Can I tell you a story?
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here. Go for it.
So the way mum found out, so like my ex was over at the time, we were drinking, playing like those, would you like, who's most likely to games, getting to know each other. Anyways, mum comes in and I'm like, join in, mum, let's go. And she sits down and the next question was, have you ever fingered a girl? And I was like, oh. And I was just with my drink and I was like, and she just looks at me and she's like, right. She's like, I see. And I'm like, yeah. Sorry. Like, sorry, this is how I'm telling you. But then, it was so, she just was like, walked out and I followed her. I was like, how do you feel, mum? And she's like, yeah, right, wow. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, okay. But it was like super chill. And I think that's what made it so easy as well.
Yeah, because your dad's all over TikTok as well.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like a character. He looks really
He
cool.
loves it.
Oh, I swear I'm more his parent than he's mine. Like, he's like a big baby. Like, he's the best though.
I do love it though because he's very much like a blokey bloke and a typical guy kind of thing, and I love how you can see he's like it doesn't change anything for him,
I literally, because like I didn't have any doubts that he would or mum like have any like issues with like when I was coming out, but he literally didn't blink an eye. Like he was just like, cool. I'm like, do you have any questions for me? Or do you have anything you want to chat about? And it was just, unreal. And I'm like, sick. I was like,
It's
okay.
so funny that how you just said it. I can literally picture your
that's
dad.
exactly like
I can
literally.
literally picture him saying that.
Oh, just so like unfazed, which I think in that moment was like, okay, that's exactly what I had absolutely hoped for. So like it was almost like refreshing. I was like, okay, cool.
That's so good. So in terms of family and friends and stuff, you had a pretty smooth sailing sort of transition and things like that. I guess when it comes to living your life online, you have added pressures from the world, I guess, commenting and having opinions on things. How did you sort of find that? Because you and your ex were very public on all the platforms and sort of just living your life visibly on TikTok and all of that. So did you have many sort of negative comments or judgments or anything?
I wouldn't say like we had much negativity at all. Like we were pretty lucky. Considering it was a public relationship. But I think that the only annoying thing was like guys that I knew in my life were like didn't almost take it seriously. And I was like, this is my girlfriend. So, and like they would just sort of act like they can still be flirty with me, literally in front of her.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know like what it is. I don't know if it's because she's a girl or whatever it was. But I was like, that was the only thing that would piss me off. Oh, no, actually, don't even get me started on the people that are like, oh, it's so hot, like, blah, blah. And the messages of, I bet you I could make you straight again.
Oh,
blah. And
my
I'm
God.
like, shut the fuck up, please. I was like, yeah, it's people like you that make me want to run the other way, brother. Like, no, thank you. Like, that was probably the only, like, thing that really would annoy me. But again, it was, like, so minute. It was, like, not that much.
Yeah.
Which I think I feel pretty lucky with that sense because a lot of people struggle with it.
Yeah. I used to get those messages all the time when I was like first publicly coming out. The messages that I would get, I'd be like, are you dumb? I'm gay. It's so annoying. They would send those messages and you're like, well, this is the reason why I don't want to date you because you're dumb.
Literally. And like, I think a lot of like femmes get this where it's like people, you're too pretty to be gay and you don't look gay. And I'm like, you need to shut up, really. Like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's a lot of stigma around that sort of like, if you appear more masculine, if you appear more feminine. And it's just like this whole like, why can't I just fucking wear what I want to wear, appear how I want to be, and it mean nothing. Like just, it is frustrating. But I think there was a lot more positive comments and things that came from having a public relationship than negative, which was really, good.
Yeah. So how old are you now?
23.
23, such a baby.
Oh, baby.
So for you growing up, what was your sort of like exposure to queer people?
Honestly, I didn't really have any exposure. Like I never really had any friends or knew anyone that was like in the queer community. And like maybe that's why it took me like, I mean, they're still so young, being 20 and like figuring it out. But like, there was definitely moments through like, even back in the like primary school days where I'm kind of like, okay, that's a big clue, babe.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize. And I think, because obviously when I started playing footy, I was around a bunch of straight people, bisexual, like so many different sexualities that I think maybe that was the perfect moment in my life where I was like, oh, like I feel comfortable to then maybe at least be open. So like I genuinely reckon because of footy is how I came out, because like it just wasn't coming up because I was never surrounded by people in the queer community.
Do you think that if you had more queer exposure, not younger, like not like a child, but in your teenage years, do you think you would have figured that out maybe a little bit earlier?
Definitely think so. 100%, because like it was just, never topic of conversation. It was never in my life.
Yeah.
So like even before footy, I was like on Instagram and, you know, gay girls are popping up on my For You page and I was like, why is she so hot? Why am I enjoying this video thoroughly? And I just scroll past because I'm like, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, fucking hell. Like, it all makes sense. Like, woo. You know what? Sorry, I'm getting off topic again. But I was at like a function for footy and someone was like, oh, you're straight. Like, and I was like, and for some reason, and that was the actual first moment I even acknowledged it in my brain. I was like, I don't like being called that. And then I was like, oh, okay, we've got something to figure out here. And like, that's how that started. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always wonder, like, we're a couple of years older. I'm 29, but I had
I'm 31.
Get that dust off that microphone.
32 next week. Fuck my life.
No, but we always talk about it. We had no exposure at all. There was no one in the media, not even the Instagram, you know, people out there and stuff like that. So I always wonder if, you know, a little bit younger, if people are having a much more exposure. But it's good to hear that you're sort of in the same boat, but it's also good to hear that it was kind of coming up a little bit more in Instagram, and it's I think now all over the place. My youngest sister was actually the one that took it the best for me because she had more exposure and the odd friend and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely improving, but it's interesting to hear that you didn't really have that much exposure as well.
Literally none.
That's why I asked that question. Do you think if you had queer exposure a little bit earlier in life, would that have changed things? And everyone's answer is yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Everyone's answer is 100%. Even like in high school, we were saying like, I can't even think of a queer couple. A lot of them ended up coming out as lesbian later in life. But imagine if they all came out in high school. I feel like I definitely wouldn't have got married. That's for damn sure. To a man, just to be clear. That's, I guess, why we're trying to do this, is to have a platform for people to go to when they're trying to figure things out or have questions a bit younger.
I think it's so important.
Yeah.
To like, that's why I love speaking about it, and why I love like the fact that I do have some sort of a platform, because I want to continue doing that as well. Everyone has a different experience and everyone's timelines are different. And like another thing that's like I want to make clear is that like you don't have to figure it out in like 2 days. Going off track again. I had these stupid comments. Like if I posted a TikTok with a guy, people like, you said, I thought you were a lesbian. And I was like, okay, let me just say one thing. Because I was dating a girl for 2 years. Everyone was like, okay, she's just into girls. She's a lesbian. And I'm like, okay, if I date a guy again, does that mean I'm straight? No. Like, I think that's also something that's really frustrating is that people like to like close you in a little box. And it's like, no, babe, that's not how it works. But it's frustrating.
You don't even think about that because obviously we both identify as lesbian and whatnot, but it would definitely have its toll on you that you have been publicly with a girl, and I guess you get a following or community that support you in that, and that you don't necessarily identify as just a lesbian. So it would be really hard, I guess, to have people constantly looking at your life and thinking they have a right to have a say on anything you're doing.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. And even like, you know, the stigma around, you know, femmes and masks are together. And it's like, I'll post a TikTok with 3 different masks that are my friends. And it'll be like, this bitch has a new girlfriend each week. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's just like people are uneducated. Like they are, excuse me. Like they are, but it's just, it's good that it's becoming more talked about. And I think this podcast obviously is like super important. And I think a lot of people, like, I wish I had something to listen to like this when I was like, especially like just coming out, like when I was 20, because it would have helped me feel like a little bit more not alone, I could say.
Yeah. I love that you talked about then like the femme mask thing. That's definitely a bit of a stereotype, is every femme will be with a mask kind of thing. And I'm really big on femme because even though I'm with a beautiful STEM mask who is absolutely sexy as fuck, but I'm also like super attracted to femmes, and I think people find that really surprising. And not that I've necessarily, well, I don't know, I've definitely hooked up with a fair few femmes, but
Let's talk more about
girls.
You're like, sorry?
Sorry, girls. I'm showing you some pictures. Actually, have I? Maybe not. Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, but I think people would be surprised by that. Like, if I was maybe in like a single era, I think people would be like, "Oh, that's just your friend," and I'd be like, "No, it's not. It's actually, a girl that I'm interested in." And I love that you mentioned that, because there's definitely some stigma around that, and the fact that it's kind of like, well, if you're a femme and you're posting a picture with a mask, then you must be hooking up or something, but that's just simply not the case.
I think there's, still so much stigma around it, which is frustrating, but can only talk about it.
Yeah. It's so
okay.
funny that there's like, not all the time, but often two different types of comments people get online. If you present more as mask or whatever, I tend to get all of the like, oh, she's trying to be a boy.
She's
or,
a man of the relationship.
Or you're
blah, blah,
like,
blah.
you obviously wear the pants or all this stuff, whatever. And then if you're the femme, it's more of like devalidating the fact that you are queer.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny. It's like, come up with some new content, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a bit over it.
It is frustrating. It's really, really frustrating because I see it all the time. And like, it's just so, it makes me bloody blood boil. It's like, I'm getting to get angry. Like,
Stop it.
Stop being uneducated. Please.
Listen to the podcast.
Listen to the podcast.
Honestly. No, but that's the whole reason we do this is, because we, like you said, would have loved something like this when we were going through what we went through, and I probably wouldn't have been with a man for 9 years and engaged and things like that. So I think there's definitely a place for it, but also that's why we bring people like you on, because you are representing a category or just people in general in the queer community, and it means a lot to a lot of people and it helps a lot of people in their journey. So bringing to light more and more people from all different walks of life for us is so important. But we'll move on from that because we're all getting a bit fiery.
Wow.
The only other thing we'll touch on with the ex was you guys obviously broke up and you had this sort of relationship in the spotlight. How was that sort of going through a breakup publicly?
It was horrible. Like, it was honestly, I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
That was like my first serious relationship.
Yeah.
And I think, it didn't end on my terms. It was not a mutual breakup. So it was like very, very difficult. And obviously with it being public, we had the comments of, oh, you together like every day, and DMs and people like on nights out, oh, what happened? And I'm like, ooh, and like she actually wanted to address it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care right now to explain or to come out with, hey, I'm like, my heart is like getting ripped right now. I'm like, I just want to like focus on healing and just trying to get through it. So like, it was hard for a few months, like really, really, even like to this day, like it's been a year, and like people still on nights out be like, oh, like what happened to you? And I'm like, none of your business. So like, I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's kind of like we had a public relationship, and it's like on my end, I'm like, am I supposed to be explain? Like I didn't. Like, it was kind of confusing because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, am I supposed to, give an explanation? Am I supposed to? It was.
It would be so exhausting, sort of feeling like you're sort of following, or not even necessarily you're following, because I'm sure a lot of them are really supportive and back you with whatever you're doing, but just people in general, like I said before, feeling like you owe them an explanation. Like at the end of the day, you're letting them into as much of your life as you want.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to respect that. And that's something I've never sort of been able to wrap my head around, and how people would deal with that sort of stuff, because I feel like it would be so hard.
Yeah, it was hard. Never want to go back there. That was just like a headspace and a half. But like, it was even like people would be like, oh, did they break up? And then like you'd have people replying to their comments being like, yeah, like about this time or this. And I'm like, who are you? I'm like, you don't even. And it was just like, people get so like, they think they have all the bloody facts. And I'm like, oh.
Do you reckon it would change your sort of outlook into dating and stuff now? Like you'll sort of hold back a bit on that stuff or?
I'm definitely keen to have more of a private relationship, but like obviously if I met someone in that career, then that's, you know, it's, you can make content together and it can be like this cute thing. And like one thing like with my ex that I absolutely loved was that we had followers follow our relationship. And like on nights out, we'd have so many younger people being like, oh, like I love your relationship. You've helped like me come out. You've helped me feel comfortable. And like that was the most rewarding feeling. So I think that was also probably another thing that I struggled with when we broke up, because I was like, oh, like that part of our relationship is also gone. And I was like, I still want to continue like helping other people. And I tried to navigate doing that by myself. So
absolutely.
doing this stuff as well. Because I'm like,
100%. Well, it's actually funny because when I was dating my ex at the time, they had never been with a girl before and hadn't even considered it until they met me. And they're actually the one that showed me your content, like you and your ex's content. And was sort of like, oh, well, look at this couple and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, they're so cute, whatever. But I think it actually, seeing couples like you guys helped her be okay with it a bit more.
that melts my heart.
And that's what opened my eyes to you guys' content. Like I'd already gone through my sort of figuring me out and whatnot, and she would see it and sort of be like, oh, like they're so cute and this and that. And like I genuinely think it was stuff like that that made her sort of be like, oh, that's a really pretty girl and like she's out and proud and maybe like I don't have to be like, you know. So I think it really does carry a lot of weight. And I think, like you say, you're being really proactive and trying to still do that stuff by yourself, which is so important and still carries so much weight. So I think definitely don't let that, the fact that you've kind of lost that couple sort of side of thing, change that, because you're still doing fucking leaps and bounds for so many people, I think.
That's really sweet.
It's like full circle.
She sort of showed me, that was how I first sort of saw any of your sort of content, and it was very funny sort of watching her like just sort of watch it and be so like happy about it, and then slowly it helped her. So
That's so cute. That melts my heart.
no, for sure. It was very cute. And I think when, you know, we sort of connected on Instagram and started talking about it, it was one of those full circle moments where I was sort of like, this is someone that I've literally seen help change someone's approach to this topic. And then we can sort of share their story and sort of show you to more people and things like that. So it's really good.
Changing the world one day at a time.
No, but I'm so grateful for being able to experience that relationship, because like not only did I be able to get to where I'm at on my platform, it's just like individually and like on my own personal sort of level has helped me like grow so much and like understand who I am, and I'm just grateful for it, really.
Yeah.
I've reached that good point of like, obviously it hurt for a while, but I'm at a point now where I can look back on that and be so like grateful that I got to experience that. So
100%. And I think that's something we always talk about. Like we're very open and talk about our pasts and past partners. You know, like when I'm talking about this ex, she knows exactly who it is and she knows the whole story and this and that. And I think it's so admirable, and we love it when people can sort of take the positives from something like that. And of course these things hurt, and we've all been through heartbreak and things like that, but to sort of acknowledge that you learnt a lot about yourself and you've achieved a lot of things, and that person helped you, I think it's really mature and admirable for sure.
yeah.
And your first lesbian heartbreak. We know how tough they can be.
And you know what? When I was going through it, I had so many like my queer friends being like, it's your first, prepare yourself. And I'm like, it's not helping. And I was like, I never really knew what they meant. And now I'm like, whoa.
At least you got it out of the way early.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you now, it doesn't change with age. I had mine, a couple of years ago, a year ago now, and I was the same. I like, when people talk about it, I'm like, okay, guys, like, especially dating men, like, I just wasn't never that, like, emotionally, like, it never ripped my heart apart.
I think that's what it is for me as well. It's like a whole different emotional
exactly.
feeling. Like,
and so I was like, oh no, that's not going to happen to me, like whatever. And it does, and you're like, they're not joking about this fucking thing.
I think the world is literally ending.
Yeah, literally.
You're like, okay. But you just take each day as it is, and then you heal and you get to
And a year later, you're still like, I'm not sure. No, I actually met Clem off the back of that lesbian heartbreak, and she was definitely in her single era.
Yeah.
Enjoying
I
herself.
was trying to heal myself, probably in not the right way.
Heal herself in numbers.
Yeah.
As we do.
Yeah. Look, it helps a bit.
It helps for a second, and then you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Shit, I've woken up next to the wrong person.
Yeah.
But no, it was seeing her going through that and giving space to that and giving space to that relationship, I think is important. And like you said, like everything's a moment in time, and being mature to be able to see what you learnt from that. And I think that's important. And also encouraging other people. Like one thing that we're passionate about is like, it's okay to talk about your ex. It's okay to like talk about the love that you had. But yeah, like it's mature and it's great. And like, I'm so grateful for Clem's exes and for the person that she is now. And I'm sure the next person that you're with will be grateful for the experience you went through and how much you grew. And now look at you.
No, I feel like there is a lot of like, you can't talk about your ex's like stigma as well, but it's like sometimes like without sounding crazy, like if someone was like that I was with was bring up their ex, obviously it depends on the bloody context, but I'm like I want to like learn more about you, so I'm like I want to hear your experience, and I'm like obviously if you're like like my ex like shit, I'm like hey, this is a problem, but I'm like if you're talking about like shit that you went through, that you learned, that you know, like I'm like I love like just learning about your partner and all that. So it's just like, I don't take it as a bad thing either. And I think that like normalizing speaking about experiences, because I was listening to one of your podcasts about just your communication and how like open and honest you guys are with each other. I'm like, yes, I'm like preach. I'm like, it's so important to like be able to communicate openly. Yeah. And I think that like, it's just, I look up to it and I'm like, it's really good.
Yeah, we're so big on it. And even at times where either of us are like, oh, I don't like that. Especially for me anyway, I won't speak for Clem, but for me, when I've ever had those moments, I'm like, okay, but I think that's just a insecurity. So move past that and continue on the conversation. And I love that we talk about it so much, because it is, like you said, it is a bit of a stigma about talking about your ex or talking about sex with someone else or like whatever. And I've been in a relationship before where you literally couldn't even compliment another person and be like, oh, like that person's hot. I love the relationship we have now because it's so like open and fun, and we can talk about things. And, meeting Clem off the back of that heartbreak, I don't think we would have actually ended up where we are now if I wasn't that person to be like, okay, let's talk about it. And you were still devastated at the time. And just like being able to leave space, hold space.
That's what's so important, is the space. And like if you can give someone that is so important. Like I've got my best friends who are together, like when they first met, one of them was like, I'm not over my ex. And like she was like, that's okay. She's like, there's no pressure. And it was like, I watched their relationship form to what it is now. And I'm telling you, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I'm just like, it doesn't happen often. Like a lot of people just, communication. Like to be honest, thought I had really good communication in my last relationship. I did, but I'm also like, I think sometimes I have shit communication. And I'm like, I try to like work on that. And I think that it's just so important because I see other people doing it. Like I listen to you guys talking and I'm like, oh my God, like, wow. And you just learn. And I think that communication, it's just important.
I love it.
Yeah, there's this big stigma around, you can't mention an ex, you can't have any sort of emotions. Like I'm very big on like, I loved that person at one point in time. I'm probably always going to love everyone that I've ever loved. Do you know what I mean? Even my ex male partner that I was engaged to, I was with him for 9 years. We were engaged, our families were intertwined. Like I will have so much love for him till the day I die kind of thing. So I think it's very eye-opening when you sort of meet someone that you can be completely open and raw and not have that sort of judgment and limitation. It's definitely very different.
I agree. I think it's almost a red flag when people are like, my ex is crazy or like and I'm like, okay. Keep my eye on you.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Oh my gosh, whenever I've dated someone and they've been like, oh yeah, we broke up because she's like fucking crazy, I'd be like, well, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly.
What did you do?
Like,
to
if you need to slime your ex
Yeah.
to, I don't know,
Yeah.
if you're trying to look better or whatever, I'm like,
And if she did go crazy, what exactly did you do to make that happen?
Yeah, what was the lead up of events?
What happened the 10 months beforehand? I'm keen to
They're like, I
understand.
cheated on them 10 times, but they were psycho after that.
I did it because they were crazy. Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, red flag.
Anyway, all right. Well, we'll wrap up the ex chat now because it's good to talk about them, but we are over them all.
we're over them all.
We're over them, and we don't need to give them too much time. Okay, so more of the fun stuff. You then started OnlyFans. How long have you been doing OnlyFans?
Oh, bloody hell. Like maybe 2 years, 2.5 years.
And what sort of made you make that decision to sort of change into that content?
Well, honestly, I think, still to this day, OnlyFans is becoming a lot more normalized. And I think it was something that I was very shut off to. I was like, I'll never do that, blah, blah. And then it was just becoming like, I met people, they were like, oh, you don't have to like go full post all this stuff. You can just post literally what you're comfortable with. And I was kind of like, oh, true. And then I started it, and then I was literally just posting like very like non like explicit content. And I was like, oh, this is probably like not going to do well. And then it kind of just took off, and then it just became my job.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just how it happened. And I was like, oh, fair enough.
So you do still have that sort of level of content, or have you kind of grown with it a bit, or?
Grown with it a little bit, but like I don't really do anything crazy. Like I'm not here to say my OnlyFans is boring because I want you to subscribe.
Subscribe, please.
But like I honestly like it's quite chill.
Yeah, but it's tailored to the audience that are there, right? Like if it's going well, then they're loving it, whatever you're doing. So
Yeah. And I think that's a big misconception. Like I got so many comments being like, you're not going to make any money unless you bloody like fully, do it all. And I'm like, shut up. People that are like coming to me being like, oh, I want to stop. Like I don't want to like go crazy. I'm like, you don't have to. I'm like, literally post what you're comfortable with. And one big thing for me, like when starting, I was like, look, because it is something that you're doing for yourself. If I'm uncomfortable, if I hate it, whatever, just stop.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing about it, because I was very aware. I was like, oh, I could absolutely hate this. But then, so that's a good thing. If like people are like, oh, do I do it? I'm like, just try it
Yeah.
if you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
And then stop if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Like it's,
No, I like that mentality. I think a lot of people put a lot of weight on decisions and sort of think, oh, if I commit to this, I can't get out of it or whatever. But I think that's a lot of life. It's like, even this podcast and stuff, we had these moments where we're sort of like, well, what's the harm in trying something different? You have that imposter syndrome, or, maybe I can't do OnlyFans or whatever, but like you have that moment where you're just like, fuck it. Like it sounds cliche, but there's only one life. Like just try this shit and see how it goes.
I love how you talked about there about OnlyFans being what you want it to be. Like you don't have to go all out. And I think that's definitely something that we're seeing now, or that has been coming up on my feed, of people that went into OnlyFans and they went full on, and because they thought they needed to, and then they've regretted that later. So it's nice to hear someone talk about, like do to the limit that you want to do, and you're going to get the audience that you want to get from that.
100%. And there's literally, as you said before, an audience for everyone. Only post what you're comfortable with. Like that's the only advice I'd have for it, is just don't kind of get sucked into what people say about, you're not going to make any money, or no one's going to, be interested if you're not doing this. Like, no, like you're probably going to still subscribe, aren't you? Like, it's just, there's a lot of negativity around it. So you just got to remind yourself, you don't want to regret doing that stuff.
And how do you find, because we chatted a bit before the podcast and you said, 98% of the audience are male and whatnot. How do you find that, given that you're queer and stuff like that? Does it affect it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's fine. But if I get the girls subscribe, I'm like, hey! Like it's all just like men, but.
Yeah, well, we have a friend that does it, and I think they get so excited when there's like a mask or something or a femme girl that follows them. They're like, oh my God, what do you want? I'll give you anything.
I care about this one.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I love that. Like you seem like a very open person, and I think a lot of people get stuck in this mentality of when you're queer, you have to be very like queer focused and inclusive of all queer, but at the same time like tend to sort of brush past the heterosexual sort of community, and I love that you're not picky with who's supporting you. Like at the end of the day, you're appreciative that people are supporting you no matter what, and
100%.
it doesn't change it.
100%. I'm just still me. I'm just come along for the ride.
So in terms of judgment, was there any sort of bad judgment from family or friends or anything with that?
There was a friend with a bit of judgment, a best friend, which was sad. But at the same time, like I wouldn't say I'm brutal, but I'm kind of like, if you show me who you are or you're going to act like that, I'm very, especially at the age we're at, it's kind of like, you do you. Like I'm not going to sit here and try and beg or try and, change your view. Like if you think that, it's the door, babe, essentially. So like one of my best friends was like, oh, pretty much, I'd say almost disowned me as a friend because like, didn't like it, couldn't cope with it, didn't understand why I would do it. I kind of just didn't give any effort into it because I was like, if you want to be like that, go on, leave. Like, I don't know if that sounds pretty brutal, but it's kind of like I'm very big on like support as well. And I think that I was like, mate, I'm sure mum and dad don't absolutely love that I do OnlyFans. I'm sure they're not like, yes, she does OnlyFans. But like they support me. And they're like, you know what, own it. Like if shit came crashing down or whatever, we got you. Like that's the type of people that I want to be around. So it's like, if you're not going to be like that and you're just going to judge me, goodbye. Like,
no, I love that. I think very mature of you because I think especially when I was at your age, like I would have been clinging on to friendships and things and I would have been stuck in a mentality of trying to sort of people please. So I think it's awesome and I think it shows on the platform that you're building and growing that you kind of do have to have that mentality of like, I need to put myself first in these situations and anyone that wants to support me and love me along that journey, great. But if not, there's the door. I love that.
100%. It definitely took me a while to get there though. Like I was a bloody doormat. I was like, you walk all over me, babe, and I'll just keep being here. Like it takes a lot to learn. And I think that if you surround yourself with the right people, then it helps for sure.
Definitely. Well, I feel like we've covered pretty much everything we set out to. For once, we've followed the plan pretty well.
Wow. It's because
look what happens when I take the reins.
It's because you're running the show. I've had about 17 questions, and I've been like, "No, Sarah,
my goodness,
shush."
stop it.
No,
well,
because actually, do you know what's funny?
Off you go.
No, I've been like
20 questions with Sarah at the end.
I've been like, oh, I want to ask that, and then you've been like, okay, I feel like you're learning from me because you've been like, okay, perfect. So this is that question. I'm like, she's got me. She's got me good.
The stage is yours if you have any.
No, I swear, you've really covered it. But yeah, on the OnlyFans topic, it's not even a question. I think it's just more of a statement. But I have been really not. How do I say this without it sounding really creepy? But I think
I'm excited.
We had a sexologist on recently and I loved that episode. I literally could not shut up and basically Clem said maybe 2 words because I was like, oh my God, tell me all about porn. And she was like, it was literally in the first 5 seconds of the episode and she was like, wow, okay. But we were talking about, like ethical porn and we were talking about sex workers and all this kind of stuff. And I think people that go on OnlyFans immediately get judged. And for ages, like even before I came out, I was like, oh my God, you're on OnlyFans, like why? But as I've grown into myself and, really worked on those things of like, why did that bother me back then? Why doesn't it bother me now? And just seeing I think there's a platform for everyone. Like there might be people that want OnlyFans because it helps validate whatever they're going through at the moment. Like it could be someone subscribing to your OnlyFans because it helps them process something. Like I think there's a place for it, and I think judgment towards it or judgment towards any type of work in that way is going out the door now. Like there's a place for everyone, there's an audience for everyone, and yeah, I love it. I think it's really cool, and I'm pro OF. That's it.
And you've got a new subscriber.
I'll be subscribing to your channel. No, but even yes, we have open communication about exes and stuff like that, but we even talk about sex a lot. Like even things like, okay, you might find someone hot. Okay, well, let's have a look. Like it's normal, like normalize it. Normalize that kind of content. It's there for everyone.
I love talking about sex and all that.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Well, let's talk about sex.
Wow, let's get into it. We're here
Your
all
first
night.
time with a girl.
Way better than any experience I've ever had.
Sorry, guys.
You know what? I actually didn't experience my first orgasm until I was with a girl.
That doesn't surprise me.
Like I've heard this 100 times. But I was like, wow. Like I was like, people like, have you had one? I'm like, oh, maybe. And they're like, yeah, you haven't. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I was with a girl and I was like,
Yep. Turns out I hadn't.
cheers to that. I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Sex is great. No, but even like I think as well, like emotionally, every guy I've been with, I always feel almost like this could just be me picking out the wrong ones. But I've always felt like if I don't do something, there's like they're annoyed or they've got fucking blue balls. And I'm like, oh, and like there's always this pressure. But then it was like eye-opening to me, like every girl experience that I've had, it's like if I'm not in the mood, it's my sex drive. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, all day, every day, please. And then I'm like 2 weeks, nah. Like it can be quite like this.
It
and
is.
when there was like lots of moments where I'm not in the mood and like there's just no like pressure, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And it was like such a nice feeling. And it like used to make me so emotional because I was like, I used to feel so shit and like I'd done something wrong if I like didn't want to have sex with you.
Yeah.
And like even to this day, like sexual encounters I've had with men, it still is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you have blue balls. Like have a wank. Like
Yeah.
I'm not in the mood. Like go away. Like
Oh my gosh, it's so true though. Like we've been super busy lately and I don't think either of us have been like, well, you know, we need to fit that in at some point. Like sometimes you're busy, sometimes you can't, sometimes you're overwhelmed, sometimes you've got work. Like, but I found the same thing when I was in previous relationships with men. It was like I'd come home from work and I'm like, well, fuck, what am I going to walk into if I'm wearing like a work outfit and it's like tight or whatever? Am I going to walk into him being like, oh, you look cute, let's go, like I want to do that? And I'll be like, fuck, might just actually. I saw a TikTok the other day of this girl who was like, it's sad that I have to put like a big jacket on when I come home because if I don't, then my body like might turn my partner on and then they're going to want to have sex and I don't want to. And I was like, oh my God, like it's so true. And it's nice with Clem in particular. We were talking about this on this episode the other day. Like we still have moments of like, oh, you're sexy and like touch each other, but that doesn't mean we're going to have sex. Like it just means that I appreciate you and you appreciate me. Doesn't mean like, okay, well, we might joke around. I joke a lot. I'll be like, well, okay, babe, off we go. But it's like a joke, right? Like it's really just like intimate moments, but we couldn't think of anything worse than having sex. Yeah. We're both exhausted. Actually, we have this joke where we'd be like, if we were in the mood, oh, the shit we would do.
If the situation was different, the things we would do.
If I wasn't in my pajamas, we would be going to town. But I just feel like women get it more.
Well, I was about to say, I think the intimacy, and you know, it doesn't blanket rule over every single man, woman, and gay, straight, whatever. But I think the intimacy for me has been so different with women, and like it's funny how, like you say, like if someone turns you on, it doesn't have to follow through with something. Like
I've always said this, so I'm glad that you guys
literally.
I feel like no one's understood that before.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank God.
Literally, Sarah in this outfit, like before we're sort of about to record, she walked out and I was like, oh my God, you're so sexy. And it turns me on so much, but it's like I can appreciate that we can have a moment, we can have a sneaky kiss, this and that. And it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I need to jump your bones. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, it's like almost like an anger build up. And it's like, I just love that there's none of that sort of stuff. It's like I think that's the part where, from my experience, men have missed is that you can be intimate without it having an end goal type thing.
And because like I consider myself a very sexual person, like flirty, sexual. Like I'm constantly being sexual. It's quite bad. And like obviously some people take that as, well, you want to have sex. I don't want to have sex all the time, babe. I just want to be sexual because I don't know what's going on there. But like it's so important to like know that you can be affectionate sexually as well and not have to bloody get it going.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Like most time I can't be fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, it's just this whole thing, isn't it?
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners?
Actually, what's coming up?
What's
for you?
next?
Like,
Let's talk about what's next.
Big projects. There doesn't have to be.
I feel like there's a big secret coming out.
Oh,
The tea. The goss.
That's so funny. We both took that completely different. I was like, oh no, like she's like, I don't have an answer. And you were like, there's something there.
There's tea, there's goss.
And you're right.
I'm going to sip to it.
Something big is in the works.
You know what? All I'll say is expect the unexpected.
Oi.
That's, you know that song on Expect the Unexpected because I'm an international. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
Keep going though, keep singing.
I feel like you're showing your age here, babe.
Oh my God. You haven't heard the Super Spy?
No, it sounds like a fun song, but
I really hope whoever is listening to this will validate me right now. Okay, I'm showing you after because my phone's over there.
do.
I'll have to show you. Okay.
well, I'm really excited for whatever this secret is, and hopefully you tell us off it.
We'll keep it in
Okay,
our
well,
back
there's
pocket.
big things coming for Lex. So if you weren't already following, I think now's the time to.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Lex can be found where? What's your handles?
Okay, let me just have a think because they're all different. My Instagram, Lexie Dyer with a bit of an underscore. And then my TikTok is Lex Dyer with maybe an extra R.
You know what? I'll tag it in the description.
Yeah, I think because I could be making up shit right now. So best bet is to just, maybe just.
And you've got a YouTube. Are you still vlogging much?
I
or-
am. I just posted another
Yeah, I saw
vlog
the Gold Coast or something.
from Gold Coast. Yeah, it was a bit chaotic, but it was.
Half phone, half camera.
You watched it. Unreal. We haven't supported. No, that was good. That was good. But no, I want to keep posting on my YouTube. If you have any ideas, anyone. But yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, I'll tag them all below so you get the right spelling.
Yeah, I don't know.
And thank you so much for coming on. This has been a laugh. This has been great.
Guys, I love a chin wag. I love a chin wag. Like I
Oh
could
my
just,
God.
I could talk.
We're
for
going to have to
hours.
get you back on once the tea's been spilled.
Yeah.
Can you please?
Well, I think that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
We have to line you up.
Wow. No, I would. Yeah, that needs to happen.
Yes. I'm so keen. Okay, you're coming on. Lexi will be back.
We have unfinished business.
Yeah, love it.
At the end of every podcast, we go 1, 2, 3, love you, bye.
Oh my heart.
And the reason why the 1, 2, 3 came in is because one time we tried it without it, and everyone said it at the wrong
Chaos.
time. And in your headphones, it was too overstimulating.
So what do we say again? I've already
Just
forgotten.
love you, bye.
when I say, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go love you, bye.
But
In that
But
tone?
no, like how I said it.
Love you, bye.
Yeah.
Fuck, this is already
not-
difficult.
Not love you, bye. The way I
Love you,
just said.
bye.
it.
Literally, you're like, love you, bye.
Okay, are we ready? 1, 2, 3,
Love you, bye.
Bye.